Hello and thanks for watching this short video from OtoSim. My name is Paul McDonald and I am Vice President of Sales. I wanted to talk to you today about how you can use your desktop OphthoSim system, which I have right here, and how you can best integrate that into a remote learning environment. In this case, we're going to show you some tips and hints as to how best you can use it with the Zoom video platform. So I've already hooked up my system to the laptop. I've got both USB connections in place, one for the black viewing box, the other for the sensor. So we're basically ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and start the software here. I've now highlighted the OphthoSim interface here, and we can go ahead and share that. So now we're all together in the curriculum as it appears in the software. I'm going to go to pathology, and for the sake of brevity, I'm just going to click into non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy. I'm going to go to, we'll say, example 3 here. So one thing that you can do is you can utilize your sensor scope as really a live cursor. So here you're right over top of the optic disc. Here we're right over top of the fovea, and also included in there in this view, the view of the blue box, is some lipid deposits. Here we're right over top of some of the major vessels as well. There's a small hemorrhage. So in each of these instances, you could use it essentially, as I said, like a live pointer, and ask the participants what is it that they see within the blue box. If we didn't want the focus to necessarily be on the blue box, but on, say, the fundus as a whole, what I would suggest is you could go to the bottom of the menu and click the snowflake. You notice now the scope itself, can move. But if we click the snowflake, it stops moving. So we have the ability now to use the other tools to highlight things that are part of the fundus that we would want to perhaps have a discussion about. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and click the circle. I'm going to point my cursor right to the middle of the small hemorrhage. I'm going to use the left mouse click to draw out a small yellow circle around the hemorrhage. So this way it becomes a point of focus, a point of conversation. If I wanted to erase that, I could just use the bottom of the pencil eraser here. Go ahead and click that. And I'll show you once again. Click the circle, move to the center of what it is you want to highlight, left click, move it, and here I've drawn a wider circle. So obviously, the further you pull the extent of the circle, the larger it will grow concentrically. I'm going to go ahead and erase that and show you how to use the rectangle or square function. So here, I've activated the icon, and we're going to go over to this hemorrhage, and I've created a simple box around that. Once again, pressing the left part of the mouse and dragging it over. We'll go ahead and erase that. And here we can do it also from the bottom. So I'm pulling it over and up. So here we have the ability to once again focus on this hemorrhage and have students answer questions about it, or have them identify other areas of the fundus that maybe you would want to highlight. So we'll just go ahead and erase that. And the other thing that's important from a visual perspective is the magnifying glass. So here we can look very closely at aspects of the fundus that were more difficult to see in the unmagnified view. and we can go ahead and right click and do even up to 5 more levels of magnification. So here, what are once very small hemorrhages, we could see much more prominently within the zoom function. So once again, an important tool to use when you are teaching, I think, via Zoom, especially for a larger group. If we want to go ahead and get rid of that zoom view, we just go ahead and press the magnifying glass once again. You notice that the blue box stays frozen in its last position, and so we don't get any jitter with that, and we can focus on the rest of the fundus view. The other thing that you can do, and I would encourage you to optimize this on a slide-by-slide basis, is just use the light scaler here. So we could either darken the image or make it lighter so that the group viewing it has a better chance to see some of the finer detail and definition of each individual slide. So you can see, if we move on to the next slide example, this one's a little bit darker, but if we wanted to lighten it, we could just draw it over to the right, and we've lightened the image and made it a little bit easier for the student participants to view. So we're going to get out of this view. So we'll press done, and we will get back to the main part of the curriculum. And obviously you'd want to review several more images throughout a session. You can obviously use the curriculum to focus on one area at a time, whether that's trauma versus degenerative disease, such as glaucoma or macular degeneration. But when you wrap up your session, one suggestion here would be go to the self-exam area, and here you're going to get a randomized set of questions. And I would recommend doing this perhaps to wrap up a session with a group of students, and bring up the first question. You can start quiz. I would suggest that you stop the timer because timing is not important here. Essentially, you could use the content as a way to interact with the students. You have your image here to the left. You have your clinical presentation to the right top box, a 77-year-old male with vision of 20/30 OD. And this right side fundus appearance is best managed with, and you've got 5 choices here, A, B, C, D, or E. So I'd encourage you to go over this with the students and have them either provide answers as a group, or you could ask students in sequence to provide what their answer may be. So here we're going to go with macular photocoagulation. It's wrong, so that goes glows red. The correct answer is actually C, in this case, antioxidant vitamin supplementation. So we can go ahead to the next question. And once again, we get a different image and a different clinical presentation and a challenging way in which you can engage the students and utilize your system to its fullest. So I hope you've received some good guidance and some tips out of this particular video session. If you have any other questions, you can please contact us at info@otosim.com or sales@otosim.com. We're always happy to answer your questions. Thanks very much.